Hello, all my JavaScript friends. This is TheVirtuoid, aka Mike Smith, and this is our RPG role-playing game. Okay, we've done the dice. We've started working on the character sheet by splitting it up into different sections. And if you missed that video, go back 2 videos and I'll explain why we're doing it that way. And we've done the abilities. Now let's do the attributes. Now, what do I mean by attributes? Well, the attributes, if we take a look at the character sheet, you will now notice on the character sheet that we've done the abilities on the left-hand side, but now we want to do all that data that is on the right-hand side. I am calling those attributes, and basically it's split into 3 different sections. You have a set of attributes that are assigned to the character. This is like experience, level, armor class, things like that. You also have a set of attributes that represent money. In this case, it's just gold pieces, but in my memory, like I said before in the earlier video, we also used to do copper pieces, silver pieces, and platinum pieces. So I've kind of left the ability to be able to get that, to grow that a little bit. And finally, we also have saving throws at the very end. And all of these are different attributes that are assigned to the character. So let's take a look at some of the code and the design section of this code on what design for an attribute. Basically, an attribute is very simple. It basically represents it represents a number. It represents a name and a number. And so when we construct an attribute, we basically give it 2 different things: a type or a value. And that type, which is required, is basically saying, what is this? Is this an experience value? Is this a level value? Is this a gold piece value? Is this a poison saving throw value? So on and so forth. So type is very important here. And of course, the value is the actual value itself. We may add bonus here a little bit later on, and adding bonus will be very simple to be able to do. No big deal there. All the properties are going to be read only, but there's a lot more properties here than what we pass. We pass type and value, but type has a lot of information with it because unlike the abilities from the last video, attributes have a little bit more information available to them. For instance, we can get a category that's associated with this attribute, a name associated with that attribute, a description, and an abbreviation. And in fact, we should have also done this with the ability, and I may go back and change the ability to do that too. The key here is actually this category, and I'll explain why here in just a second. When we do a category, I have split the attributes into specific categories, and I call them the character categories, the money category, and the saving throw category. And this will allow me to be able to get a collection of different attributes. So a character may have 20 different attributes, but 15 of them may be character attributes, 3 of them may be money attributes, and another 5 of them or so may be saving throw attributes. Well, I want to be able, instead of just getting a single attribute, to get an entire collection. Like, give me all the saving throw attributes, give me all the money attributes, give me all of the regular character attributes. And so that's what character is all about. The methods are very simple. We just need to change the value, and that's it. The static methods are very simple too. We need to check to make sure if we have if our attribute is a valid attribute or not. We need to get all the information for that particular attribute, and then we need to get all the attributes based upon the particular category, and that will allow me to be able to grab all the attributes again based upon that one particular category. So the static properties, here's all of them as we stand right now. This is what I'm starting the game off with, and this is basically exactly what the basic fantasy manual specifies, with 3 additional ones that I have down there at the very bottom, which I've already explained are categories. And again, if you want to take a look at the basic fantasy manual itself, take a look at the link down in the descriptions. But this explains all of the different attributes, all the different saving throw, all the different attributes. Let's see, where are they? Yeah, here we go. All the different attributes, all the different money, which right now is just gold pieces, and all of the different saving throws are associated with this character. Plus it defines all the 3 different attribute categories, which will allow me then to be able to get collections of attributes. And then it's just very simple. The attribute data that I defined up there, this is just some interesting information for category name, abbreviation, and description. Now, because there's so much of them, unlike the abilities, what I've also done is I have devised my very first database. And this very first database I've called attributes.json. This is the attributes that we are using within the game for each individual attribute. Basically, what type it is. It's a type of level, or an experience type, or an armor class. Why do we have type as armor class there? Well, the reason we have type as armor class there and category as a string right here, because this is a JSON file. Usually I store everything as symbols. If you looked at the ability one from last week, and you'll see here in just a minute, everything I have is a symbol, because that ensures that within the scope of the running program, those symbols are going to be unique. And that's what I'm looking for, is the uniqueness of the symbols. But I can't put symbols in a JSON file, so I'm putting the descriptions inside here, as you'll see here shortly. So each one of the attributes we have here basically has an abbreviation, a name, a type, the category it's in, and then the description. So there's level, experience, armor class, hit points, attack bonus, gold pieces, death poison, wands, paralyzed stone, dragon breath, and spells. Notice that the 3 categories are not in there. And the reason that is that they're categories. They're not really attributes. They're just it gives me the ability to organize all the different attributes. So all I'm worried about is the attributes that apply to a particular person. All right, so this is our test. Really, really simple. And by the way, if you're not familiar with it, this is something relatively new within JavaScript. An import used to be able to just bring in JavaScript file, but if you can add that with JSON at the very end, it will bring in a JSON file for you automatically. That's something that actually I did. It's been around for a year or two, but I didn't even remember it was there until I got literally a couple of weeks ago. I thought, oh, that's right, we can do JSON files. I didn't know that. Anyway, doesn't really matter. So this is just set up. The AI has given me a setup. And again, I use AI for unit tests because it's very good at unit tests. I still check to make sure all the unit tests are correct. I just don't take everything at face value. And I certainly rarely use it within the coding, only just to kind of help me get through some really tough spots. So I just, again, want to make sure we're all up front where I'm using AI and where I am not. So basically, it's real simple. We check to make sure that the constructor is valid, and all of this is based upon the design that you see here. We type the type argument. We make sure it is all correct. The value argument, we make sure it's correct. The properties, all the different properties that we have, to make sure they're all correct. Making sure that all the properties are read-only, because that's one of the requirements. I don't like to have the ability to write properties. I want to make them read-only. I want to control, which is what set value here is. I want to control you changing those properties. And so we did the set value here to make sure it's correct. And then we check all the different static properties to make sure what we want to initialize to which is all of this. We want to make absolutely certain that we are initializing them correctly. And so that's it on that particular one. So we can take a look at our attributes and let's just see what we've got. Well, it's real simple. Here again, I have created all my static attributes here, my static symbols. These are the symbols that I am using religiously within all my system here, to give myself a unique symbol that I can then use as a reference point for any kind of mapping or any kind of index that I wish to. Here are all the different symbols that we have assigned to it. And in reality, I could have probably figured all this out from here, but I just suddenly realized, oh, okay, I could make this even better, but that's okay. Here's where I build the data attribute. This is where I do build it from the attribute data, which is what we imported here with the type JSON. So this is what builds our static data map, because this data map then has all the different data, and this is what we access for all of our data. Here's our is attribute, get attribute. They're real simple. So here's our type, value, and attribute data. We load in the attribute data when we get that attribute. Here's all of our getter functions. And here's our one and only method called setValue. And that's all it does. It doesn't do anything else. And that's it. There really is nothing else, because just like the ability class, all I really want, it comes down to it, is what type of an attribute are you and what is your value? That's all I care about. I don't care if you have 5 different attributes or 10,000 different attributes associated with your character. I need to know what type you are, and I need to know what your value is. And so that's pretty much all we have here. All the rest of this, like description, abbreviation, and everything, is just, icing on the cake, excuse me. And in reality, I probably don't even need that, but I've added it in there here just, again, for sake of doing it. But that's all it really is to it. So if we go over to our other screen, we can now take a look at our unit test. And oh, it ran. Of course, like I'm not going to have the unit test run bad, straight out of the thing here, unless I made a stupid error. We had 100 tests, and all 100 of them have passed. So we're all good with the attributes. So just like the abilities, the attributes is a very simple little class. But by having this class and separating it from the player character itself, this gives us the ability to have our player character have any number of attributes so that we're not locked into a certain number of attributes. That will allow us to be able to change things on the fly with a minimal amount of effort. And that's all there is to the attribute class.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel to view more videos. Click on the like button on this video and visit us at virtuoid.com. Also, support us on Patreon, where you can get access to member-only videos. Links are down below. Again, thank you very much for watching, and keep on coding.